Dyslexia and autism, what do they have in common or what don't they? Now, based on my initial research, when I was looking at what dyslexia actually is in the social world and outside of the classroom, I started coming across how a lot of the dyslexic traits, when individuals have actually only been diagnosed as dyslexic, research shows that they have a lot of similarities to those traits that also get classified underneath autism. So, can an individual be both, like they're commonly diagnosed right now? Or are some of those individuals that are diagnosed with both dyslexia and autism actually just dyslexic? Or are they autistic with a learning disability? And remember, in previous episodes, I actually talked about how too many times we use a learning difference or a learning disability as a equal or synonym towards dyslexia. And they're not the same. Dyslexia is different than a learning difference. While those of us who are dyslexic have learning differences, that does not mean that we are equal. Being dyslexic is a unique processing style. And in this episode here, I want to share with you how, in my opinion, of how I read the research, you can't have both autism and dyslexia. And it's based in the brain cells. And in this graduate research study, the researcher actually took a look of previous research that had been out there that took a look at the shape and the layout of the brain cells between dyslexics and autistic individuals. And what they found is that they are on a completely different spectrum. So this is what got me thinking. If the brain cells are completely different, how can you have both? Some of the issues that we have when we look at diagnostics, especially within psychology, diagnostics within psychology is based on behaviors, actually not on genetics or on how the brain is actually formed. So regardless, when we're taking a look at this, what does it matter? To me, it matters huge because this is part of the reason why individuals are misdiagnosed or misclassified as dyslexics, and how the society doesn't even know what dyslexia really is, because we only look at it as a learning difference. We're not looking at it from a holistic step back, big world picture of what else does it mean to be dyslexic in a social world. Those who are identified or classified, diagnosed as along the autistic spectrum, their columns were compressed. What does this mean? Well, this means that information can travel super fast for these individuals. Now, those individuals that I know that are on the autistic spectrum, they can pull up facts so fast, they know so much information, while they still can be challenged with potentially working memory, executive functioning, other aspects. What we do find is that they have quick recall. Now, on the opposite spectrum, what they found is that those on the dyslexic spectrum actually had huge gaps between their columns. And what we can see through that is potentially why sometimes for dyslexics, we can have a challenge of working memory and word recall on that ability to pull up information from our stored access within our brain. So looking at this, if we just look at how the brain cells are actually structured, it becomes almost obvious that you couldn't be both. Now, I have done extensive research on dyslexia, trying to understand what it actually means to be dyslexic. And here's the thing, there are so many traits that get crossed over between dyslexia, autism, and ADHD. They almost become just a neurodivergent profile. What ends up differentiating between these three processing styles are the minute differences. It is those minute differences in conjunction with the similarities that if we took a look at them based on those criteria for our diagnostics, we might actually find that more dyslexics actually showcase or are aware of these neurodiverse traits that they have. And maybe they might not receive that dual diagnostic of being autistic and dyslexic, and they'll just find out that they're dyslexic. Let me know. Reach out to me. Let me know what you think of this, because I know for a lot of you, this is going to be a bit of a challenging thought process to think of, because science hasn't quite got here yet in the research with dyslexia. But what we're finding is studies is actually supporting that there is more to dyslexia than learning differences, and it does exist within the social one.